and welcome to the Dating Advisory Board. I'm so excited you guys joined us tonight. I have the amazing and awe-inspiring Eban Eka here today. We're going to teach you how to perfect your mindset. So make sure you listen to all of his words of wisdom. He's been very inspiring to me throughout the creation of the Dating Advisory Board.
What?
Yes, 100%
I had no idea.
accurate. I'm not lying. Ring that bell for that. I'm not joking. No, I mean, seriously, when I was started it and people would say, like, what are you doing, Jen? Like, and I'm like, yeah, that's a great question. I'll figure it out. But the one thing I listened to was his, do Facebook Live videos. And they were daily, but they were short, but it was like in very inspiring words to start your day. And when he walked in, I said, you need to go back to doing, Facebook Live videos because it made a difference. And then, when you have those negative, you want to get your mindset right, you did help me. So I really appreciate that.
I really appreciate that. First off, I'm always humbled to be, I'm humbled for people to ask my opinion, to ask me to spend time talking to them, to record it, to share my content. I really am. So it doesn't matter if it's you, it doesn't matter if it's a kid, it doesn't matter if it's someone who's established, whoever it is, I'm always humbled. So the fact that I had actually played a role in someone's life in a positive manner is actually is beyond. I'm always elated and humbled. And so I know we talked about you trying to do something like this when you first started out, and one of the things I think I might have mentioned was people will always give you advice, but they're not. Again, those people who are telling you what are you doing that doesn't make any sense. They're not doing anything themselves.
Right. Haters gonna hate.
Yeah. Anybody who's doing anything of value, like if you can't create, if you're hating, you can't bring value to somebody else if you're trying to break other people down. Like there's something I heard recently before we go into this is that there's two ways to have the tallest building in a city. One way is to tear everybody else's building down, and the other way is to build a bigger building.
Wow.
So it's easier to tear down buildings. You notice, hear what's happening, buildings going on in D.C. They're tearing buildings down all the time.
Yep.
It takes a lot longer to build that joint back up.
Right.
So that's a microcosm of, or an example or an analogy of how hard it is for people to evolve and to grow and to build themselves. So it's easier for them to tear you down, give you stupid ass advice, and tell you not to do something wonderful like this.
No, thank you. Yes, I love it. I mean, I can't believe it. When we were sitting there, like a year and a half ago.
At least, yeah. I think we were at Clyde's.
Yeah, Clyde's, but right before Tien's event, or
Yep.
shortly after that. Connectpreneurs coming up, get your tickets. Shout out to Tien. But but thinking about like that, and this goes back to your premise of never giving up and persistence. But I want to know, how did you get to there? So I know your very inspiring story of how you got to where you are, and athletics and basketball. And so can you kind of go through how you got here?
So one of the things, real quickly, there's a bunch of things that I've done in my life, and they've all followed the same model.
Okay.
And the one reason why I think that model is important is because it gives you an example of what's possible. All you have to do is apply a different set of criteria or circumstances. Okay. But I'll go back. So the first was going to play college basketball in the U.S. And I was born and raised in Toronto, Canada. My parents are Nigerian. My father actually went to Howard University, where we are right now, back in the late 60s, early 70s. And that's back when it was a wild, wild west, and we had civil rights and everything else, all the other problems. So after my father graduated, they moved to Canada, had the kids, and we had a bunch of other things going on. So when my parents split, my mom raised four of us by herself, basically by herself in public housing, lived in public housing. My girlfriend and I went there like Christmas. I took her there for the first time I've been back, like probably in 20 years. I took her there for during Christmas break, and I showed her where we lived. Very small place. Everything was smaller than I realized. I thought it was way bigger as a kid. Yeah. And so one of the things that was really important to me was playing basketball in college. And at the time, there was no internet, there's no YouTube, there's no. You had to send a video, and somebody had to know who you were. Right? I mean, you may be younger than me, but still, like it was really hard. For tennis, it's the same thing. Like unless you went to school close to you, it was hard. So what I did was I literally figured out, okay, what I need to do in order to make this a reality is I have to get a lot of people to know who I am. Right. And one way to do that for me was I went to a basketball camp, saved some money up. Before I tell you that story, I went and got a book from the library and sent about maybe 200, 300 letters. I typed it out on WordPerfect 4.0, 3.1, whatever the hell it was, black screen, yellow font. Typed that joint out, signed it, form letter, sent it to 300 people, sent tapes. Then I went to a camp. Yeah. The camp people forgot to pick me up at the bus station. Yeah. I ended up sleeping in the bus station in Cleveland, Ohio, at Greyhound bus station as a 17-year-old.
Wow.
And but again, like one thing I'll say with that is, most people would freak out at that particular experience. But what I looked at more importantly at that time was what I was trying to accomplish was way bigger than whatever I was going through at that time. And that's the first thing that keeps you going.
There's a visualization, right? You can
Exactly.
visualize. Yeah,
I
we're going to talk about that a
things.
lot because that's huge.
I do that a lot. I'm
do
very
that all
visual.
the time.
I
Yeah.
see things in the future.
me
I
too.
have to,
Yeah.
right? So that my brain knows it's possible. So, so after all that happened, eventually, long story short, I ended up going to a small school called Calvin College, and then I played basketball there, applied the same principle to go play professional basketball. Wow. I made a commitment. First, so a couple tips I'll say is, one, I made a commitment. I had a vision that was clear. I made a commitment, and I had an intention. So I
Right.
had a list of things I had to do in order to increase the likelihood of this happening. And the next was I figured out what the process was, the existing process, and then the last thing I did, massive action. And if you do those things, you have a better chance of anything you want to have happen to happen. Too many people aren't even clear on what they want.
No.
They
don't even know what they want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They have no idea what they want tomorrow, today,
Right.
let alone tomorrow, let alone a year from now. They don't know what it looks like.
Right.
They don't know what they don't see. They can't see it. So
Yeah.
if somebody comes to you with some stupid advice or some dumbass advice, and you have no idea what you want, it's easy for you to get
Like,
distracted.
oh, okay, this sounds great.
Exactly.
And
This
then you're
sounds
like,
better.
oh,
Exactly.
this sucks.
Exactly.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's the thing. So one thing I'll add to this is that your brain wants proof, not promises. Your brain wants proof, not promises. So what I mean by that is your brain wants to see something possible
Right.
for you before it will allow you to use your time and resources to try and attain it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, and then having that. Let's talk about visualization. Hi, hello. No, because we talk about that in tennis, right? And then in basketball, you practice the plays. You
Yes.
know, like I know I'm going down the line, cross court, boom, end the game, boom. Now I did that in business too with the dating advisory board. I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen here, 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 here. And then, you should, in dating too, you should put it out there. Put out what you really want in
Yeah.
a partner. And I don't think a lot of people know.
No.
Maybe they don't know what their core non-negotiables are.
And I remember we talked about it the last time I was
Yeah.
on the show, and one of the things is a lot of people don't know who they are.
Right.
They don't know. So if you don't know who you are, you don't know what you want.
Yeah.
And there's a few ways you can go through and find it. One way is you can go in the mountains and hang out with monks and do all the meditation stuff, which I like meditation, but
Yeah.
I'm not gonna dedicate my life doing it. The other way is you go through a lot of trial and error. So a lot of people learn. There's three things that people learn the hard way, and I always use this, and eventually maybe this will be a book, but. It's we learn finances the hard way, we learn relationships the hard way, and we learn our self-perception and self-worth awareness the hard way.
Right.
And you do all that. The hard way is trial and error. You learn that crap through trial and error by making mistakes, dating the wrong person. You know that's not for you, and you know
Right.
who you are every single time you've dated somebody who doesn't fit.
Right.
And the problem for most people is they don't know themselves.
That's true.
So if you don't know who you are and you don't know yourself, you don't know what's important to you, you don't know what your goals are, your dreams are, how can you support somebody else's, and how can you function and bring value to another relationship?
Right. Right. Because so many times where like people will be in a relationship and they'll just go right back into one.
Yeah.
But they don't take the time to do the self-reflection, get the reflection in the mirror on point before you start swiping right. I always say that. I'm serious. No, they don't. I mean, think about it. Like we're used to coaches.
Mm-hmm.
We're coachable.
Yeah.
We are coachable people. I have
Yeah.
coaches in my life. I'm almost 40 in August. It's around the corner. But having like health coaches, people to keep you on your toes,
Yep.
that give you the right feedback, that will say, here are your strengths, here are your weaknesses, right? And then you'll know that. And even if you're in a relationship, if having that conversation with your partner, like it maybe because you don't want to wait until always the best scenario, or I think I heard was, when you're in a relationship or first starting out, like it's all, everyone wants to be in the garden. The garden's so nice. We're tending to the garden. We're smelling the flowers. And then you don't do your little, deadheads, deadheading as I call it, to the flowers. And keep watering the grass, then things get awry,
Yeah.
and then it's no fun to play in. The weeds start coming in, the rodents, and God only knows what else is coming in there.
The vermin, everything else.
Vermin,
Yeah.
and everything's coming out. So like having those kind of check-ins, like we do it in business, like calling the customers.
Yep.
I mean, nobody does that anymore. I
No.
mean, nobody uses the phone anymore
Yeah.
to call.
Yeah.
I mean, text.
You're right.
I always say that you want a dating tip? Oh my gosh, if you pick up the phone and call someone, you will be the most interesting person they are dating because they just do not like to call. I don't know if it's I think it's more of a generational issue than anything. I think Laura's like, nope, no. You call? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but that's the thing. I mean, I think that that it needs to be like you would stand out more, or in the morning, like, hey, send a text like, hey, thinking about you. Or because you're going to follow up with your customers, you should be following up with your potential partner.
And you know what?
Partner.
We do that, and Laura and I do that, and we have to. And to be fair, she implemented this when we first started dating.
Oh,
and
good
it's
job.
Kind of like every morning it's a text. Actually, every morning it's a phone call.
Okay.
And every night it's a phone call minimum, and then she calls me throughout the day, and then we text throughout the day too if we don't see each other, and so, but more importantly, the thing is, you have to find out what's important to the other person and figure out what's in and what you, because something that's important to the other person may not be as important to you, so it's easy for you to acquiesce or give it to them.
Exactly.
And on the other hand, it may be very important to you. That's a conversation that has to be had.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, I think the other thing is that having the expectation of what you want, or kind of off the bat in dating, because a lot of people, they just say, well, I don't know what I want. Right? Or like they may start dating someone and they're like, oh, just kidding, but then they don't let the other person know, and you're like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, come on, that's not nice. I mean, there's dating karma.
Yeah.
Just like there's karma. Like,
I agree.
Be nice out there.
It's the same karma you can apply to not only with dating, but also the way you're going to treat somebody you date is the way you're going to treat a customer.
Right.
Is the way you're going to treat a prospect. Is the way you're going to treat a business associate, someone you try to hire. It's the same.
Exactly.
Everything is the same. And so my point is, it's a Venn diagram. You can't be the nicest guy dating and then be an asshole in business. It doesn't work. Like it's virtually impossible.
That'd be difficult. Yeah.
It's impossible because
Right.
we don't have, as humans, men can compartmentalize certain things, but you can't do it 100%.
Right.
It'll permeate itself into other areas, and it will play a role. So when you have problems at home, it comes to your job. When you have problems to your
Absolutely.
job, it comes to your home.
Right.
Doesn't matter how hard you try not to, it does.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, think about it, like talk about persistence and mental toughness, right? So we're talking about mindset. I think, and this maybe just personally, having those mental coaches in tennis and in any sport, your brain is trained. At least for me, it was easier when I call them the pheasants. Like I have a funny story about the last mile that my dad did with playing tennis. But if I wasn't strong enough, I wouldn't be able to handle the criticisms and the people saying negative things about me. Like, I don't care. I'm like, it's not really about me. It's about them.
Exactly. When you're in a good place and you're sharing value to other people, you can't. There's a difference between criticism. There's a difference between opinions and advice.
Right.
Opinions, everybody has them, and the opinions are always steeped in past experiences, past lives.
Right.
Whatever you want to call it. Some places call it engrams. Whatever you want to call it. Whatever you're doing, your opinion comes from something you've experienced. Right.
Right.
Advice comes from someone with actual experience on the knowledge on the subject you're talking about.
Yeah.
And they're also coming from a place of trying to help. That's what advice is. Advice is the connotation is to help.
Right.
Opinions is, oh, that looks horrible. I hate that dress. They're not trying to help you. They're just trying to bring
really?
you down. It's
Well,
about
I
them.
didn't say
Something
that.
else about them.
Yeah. I mean, this dress is awesome.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like, why are you
And even if it is a piece of crap dress, like there's
Yeah.
a way you can do it in a way where. So if you're talking to Kim Kardashian, like she's like, I don't like that dress. Try this. You're gonna listen to her because
Right.
you see her as a fashion icon.
Right.
You're valuing her experiences in the marketplace versus someone at home dresses like shit telling you that that's a shit dress. So why
Right.
would I listen to that person?
No, absolutely not. I know, but it's still hard when because you're trying to put positive things out, and then you just get these people that just come right in for the
You got to get rid of
jugular.
them. And you got to get rid of them.
Oh,
Those
yes.
people, it doesn't matter.
That's a good
They may even
segue.
be your family. And by getting rid of them, I don't mean you go kill them. I'm not saying you got to, I'm not saying do that. I'm not saying you have to ignore them for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's understanding how you operate in that ecosystem. Your mental health is your responsibility.
It's true.
And so your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual, it's all your responsibility. And
Yeah.
someone who wants to be their best self, reach their potential, will actually invest in that, whether it's through money, time, resources, whatever. And if you have people in your life, relationships, people, whatever, or family who are putting you in negative spaces, you part of knowing yourself is knowing what triggers that.
Right.
I know those things for myself.
Yeah,
So
I know now. I didn't know before. I would take it very personally.
And
I'm
most
like,
people
oh
don't.
man, like they're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Those people don't.
Yeah.
And so once I know I see something coming on, I get out of there. I
Yeah.
physically remove myself.
Yeah.
Because
I
it's
say I'm going to excuse myself.
I just leave.
So
I
if you
don't-
ever hear that around me, you are in deep trouble.
I was like, I'm out. I can't. Why am I like? Look, when you're operating in a I believe in abundance, but when you're operating in a your life is the only thing that's not necessarily abundant physically, right?
Right.
We're dying every day. So if I know that and I know my time is limited and I'm choosing to be in front of this negative experience, why the hell would I allow that to happen when
Right.
tons of people who want to pay me to spend time with me, or even just spend time with me anyways.
Yeah, or want you to succeed.
And want me to succeed and want to give me
Right.
greatness. So why would I want to spend time with people who are trying to? So I can do it in a way without having to make an announcement or sit down and let me tell you how awful you are. I don't need to talk to you anymore. I could just be like, I start slowly I replace my 5 or my 10 people with other people of value.
Right, exactly. I mean, that's a good segue because, bringing like building boards, like so Marissa was on how to build your advisory boards in business, but I think in order to build your advisory boards in dating too, and it can be friends, it can be. I would limit the family because I think they may have ulterior motives, But I think having your friends, your core. I mean, they don't have to be the people. I have girlfriends that are on my board that I've known for 20 plus years, from high school into college and to today. But each of them know me from different times of my life. And so they have seen me evolve as a person, and they can call me on my shit, and just say, Jen, here's this. So, you keep, you're doing the same thing over and over and you're expecting a different result. Like, so I've learned a lot, and I ask them like, what happened? Like we were saying on the Facebook Live. So this is a constant thing I hear from people is that because all of this ghosting and cushioning and breadcrumbing. I mean, I can't even keep up with all this terminology, to be honest with you. I'm like, why are they not calling you back? That's weird. It's just like, this is a small town. Like, why would you do that? It just doesn't make any sense. It's very strange, but besides the point. But being able to be accountable, to that person and just say, hey, like, dating karma, be nice out there. So if someone, you go on a date with someone and it doesn't work out, I mean, depending on like if they're weird, but, but from the majority of it, and especially because all these apps now you can see who you're connected with. And so it's just like, just be nice because you never know if you're going to run into that person at an event or with friends, and you just don't want it to be awkward. Like, it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, like you wouldn't ghost your client.
Yeah.
You wouldn't ghost that. But then people will say, like I said, they'll send me, text message or send me, emails. They're like, I scoured through my text messages and, trying to find out what went wrong, what I did wrong. And I think that's one of the major things that people are saying, like, what did I do wrong? Well, maybe it had nothing to do with it. Maybe it did. Maybe it did.
Exactly.
Maybe maybe they just weren't a fit. They just didn't really know how to say. They just got weird and like bolted.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I don't even care how long it is. Like, because that stuff stays with people.
It does. It's at the end of the day, it's rejection.
It's rejection.
So whether you're being rejected at a job, rejected in your business, rejected by a customer or potential customer, rejected by someone you went on a date with, I don't care who you are, it doesn't feel good. Brad Pitt would feel that way.
Yeah.
Like he'd be like, but again, the difference with him and other people is, and this goes back to experience and understanding who you are. Is understanding if you have enough of a massive action experience-wise, it doesn't mean you have to sleep with everybody. It just means you're just dating enough and knowing who you are and then knowing what works for you. So you can read the signs as they come up. So when someone ghosts you, you're like, you know what, that's fine. There are a lot of other people. Abundance can cure all that.
Yeah.
You have a lot of other
That's a
people you can go out with. You're not going to be like, oh, okay, that dude doesn't want to go with me. I'm fine. There's
but they'll say, well, I did this, so I'm just still, this is the one experience. And I've actually heard this recently by 2 people. They said, yeah, I'm done with the apps. I deleted all the apps off my phone. She's like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, it's one person. Like you have to put yourself back out there.
But you know why that happens? I'll tell you why that happens. So what happens, again, this applies to everything else.
Okay.
So what happens with people in general is our brains, going back to, I love behavioral economics, behavioral psychology, evolutionary psychology, but our brains want to justify where we are.
Okay.
We do that all the time. So if you try to do something, you try to go for something, it doesn't work out, you'd be like, oh, maybe it wasn't meant to be. You say stupid stuff like that. That's ridiculous. Don't ever say that shit. It's ridiculous. And it wasn't meant to be. It wasn't meant to be. It's a bunch of bullshit. It is, because you haven't done everything you know you could do. And the reason you're saying it wasn't meant to be so you can justify why it didn't work out. So you feel better about what happened. And it's the same thing with, I'm gonna get rid of all the apps and I'm gonna stop using it. It's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah.
I had a friend who was speaking the exact same way because he didn't have a good experience at the beginning. He ended up meeting his wife
on one
of the apps. Yeah.
I do hear that a lot.
He just got married in April. I was in his wedding.
Oh, wow.
So my point was, initially we have we create these justifications so that we can support our beliefs.
Yeah.
Because the worst thing in the world is to have your beliefs shaken, have them so shook that you literally lose your mind. Because you lose your mind. Like what makes us human is definitions and beliefs. So, for example, this is a show, this is a phone, this is paper, this is a bell. We all agree that this is what this is.
Right.
If you were to meet 5 other people and nobody agreed with what this was, it'd be chaos. right?
Yeah.
You'd go nuts. And so as a result of that, we want to justify why this is happening.
Yeah.
I have to come up with a reason. If there's a vacuum, I'll fill it. I'll fill it with lies, stories,
To
past
tell
stuff.
yourself, right? Yeah,
Tell
like,
myself all
oh,
this
it's gonna,
stuff.
like, this is gonna,
It's the apps. Nothing but
Yeah.
people with trying to sleep with me. It's a bunch of bullshit. Da da da. When in reality, maybe you're not doing what you think you should be doing for yourself.
Right.
So you attract the right type of person.
Right, like you are who you attract, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that statement. But it's true. Oh my gosh. All right, we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we got more inspiring information from A-Bong. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome back to the Dating Advisory Board. I'm your host, Jen Hecht, and we have the wonderful A-Bong Eka here today talking about how we can perfect our mindset. So, yes, and we just had a really good quote that I actually took from his Facebook page because it was really, really good. Yeah, the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Marcus Aurelius. I love it.
I love Marcus. I have Meditations, which is a book. His personal writings by Marcus Aurelius, and he and a few others, Seneca, are all part of my personal philosophy, my life personal philosophy.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Sure. My personal philosophy is Stoicism, and when you hear people say the guy was Stoic, it means it's like expressionless.
Right.
So that's where the root that comes from. The root cause that term comes from Stoicism, the philosophy. So Stoics basically try to live in the present. They believe in not lamenting about the past, but learning from it.
Okay.
And because a lot of people will look back and say, "Oh, I wish I should have, I could have." The worst thing in the world to have in your life is regret.
Yes, thank you.
Regret's the worst thing in the world.
My jam.
And the reason why regret is so powerfully horrible for you and wrong is because it gives you the idea that you had a chance to you knew better at the time when you made the decision.
Right.
Right? So it's like...
usually out of fear.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, usually fear. Oh, no. Yeah,
Exactly.
in business or dating, like just fear,
Exactly.
know? I mean...
Like there's a difference between a mistake. So a mistake
Right.
is just I did something, it didn't work
Right.
out.
Yeah.
Regret is a woman, I shouldn't have gone out with that guy. This guy is irresponsible. He's on drugs, whatever else, and something bad happened. That's where regret comes in,
Yeah.
right? You date a woman, she's doing all these things you know she shouldn't be doing, dating all these guys at the same time, and doesn't even care, and sleeps with your brother.
Oh,
you knew
that's
better.
not
Like
good.
but the reason why you regret is because you knew at the time something didn't seem right. And because you knew yourself, you didn't trust your thoughts or whatever. So it's so understanding the importance. Again, regret is when you meet any old person. I've done this before. When I was younger, I used to volunteer at old folks' homes and stuff. And a lot of them would always tell me stories of like, yeah, when I was young, I wish I'd done this or changed my career.
Right.
You hear regret because you know that they had a chance to do something they didn't do.
Yeah.
Right. Different than making a mistake.
Right.
Right. So stoicism is my personal philosophy, and that's the same thing. That's the one thing how I live. I don't lament about the past. I look back and learn from the past, but I also don't. I don't time travel and think about the future. I think about right here, what
Present.
value I can bring now.
Right. Because you can't change it. I mean, you can't change the past. I remember everyone wants to say. I mean, you could. I mean, like
If you could, you'd be like a trillionaire.
Yeah. I mean, you could. Yeah. But you can change actions. Like we said, like doing right by people, being positive. If you say, if you've hurt someone, just reach out to them. And just say sorry. Like, unless it depends on really if it was really bad. But
Sure.
but something like that, like living in regret, is literally one of my worst fears.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather ask for them or talk to that person, or in business or personal, than be like, man, I'm a couple years down the line, you're like, oh man, I really regret it, not talking to this person.
Yeah.
And then probably they've moved on, or whatever. I mean, maybe there's a glimmer of hope, but
you're holding on to that regret because
Yeah.
because you had regret, you feel like there's something that's unfinished.
Right, unfinished
and so,
business.
Yeah, and that plays a role. It's like you try to make a cake and it's still runny and watery, but
Yeah.
you had 10 more minutes left, but you're too impatient. So you're holding that shit with you for however long you're living. It's a nightmare. So
Yeah.
I try to live a life of no regret. And I don't mean it, when people say that, it sounds reckless, but I don't mean it that way. I don't mean like, no regrets, jump off a building, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah.
I don't mean that. What
No.
I basically mean is when I'm making a decision, I'm cognizant of what can
Just
happen, what can
gonna say
happen, and I'm okay with the results.
Right. Like
Right.
if it, good or bad, right? Like
Good or bad.
going up to people like we would say, oh, we were out the other night, the girls, and they're like, oh, there's this, one of my girlfriends, she said, there's this really hot guy, and I was like, go up to him, say hi. She's like, I'm not doing that. And I said, okay, because tomorrow morning you're going to be like, man,
I should have
reached out to that person,
Yeah.
and then he's gone,
Yeah.
and unless she knew it, but she didn't know.
Yeah.
Just a random person, but stuff like that. I mean,
It
I think
happens
it's
all the time.
Yeah. So I mean, I want to go back to I want to go back and dig a little deeper when we're talking about who you surround yourself with.
Okay.
Okay. So building your network. So talk about how important it is to build the right network.
It's a foundational activity. So it's very similar to building a house with the proper foundations, very similar to starting a business on the right foot. It's very similar to having a good foundation at home. And so having people around you is important. It's important because you're not Alexander the Great. Even he had generals and people he considered to be as counsel. Everybody
Right.
has counsel, which
Right.
is a term of someone who advises you.
Right.
Right. And so hence the dating advisory board.
Yes.
So
You
it's,
need them.
so it's
Go-
having
go
somebody
get
who has wisdom, someone who knows you, who understands you, and understands how to communicate to you in a
Right.
way. The biggest key I'll say is not somebody tells you the truth, because that's not what you need. What you need is somebody to tell you the truth in a way that you can absorb it.
Right.
So if you're sensitive with information and someone comes to you and starts talking to you recklessly, it's not advantageous to the relationship. It doesn't help anything because you're never gonna absorb it in order to make a change.
Right.
And then you're gonna just get rid of this person. Right. So the gift of somebody being able to be part of your board, they have to be able to communicate with you. Everybody has a person like this, like, I'm just honest. It's a bunch of bullshit. You're just lazy.
You're lazy.
You're lazy. You are intellectually and emotionally lazy because being able to communicate effectively with certain people, to critique them,
Right.
requires a level of astuteness that most people don't have.
Right.
And you have to literally commit to that. If that person's important to you, you got to be able to commit to that I know you well enough to know that this is how I have to say this to you for you to know.
Right.
Right. That could be someone you're dating. That could be a whole host of people. And it's not a function of age either. Not a function of age. Not a function of how long you've known them.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything because again, our relationships evolve. It's a function of, can they communicate effectively? Do they have what incentive do they have in sharing that information with you?
Yeah.
And how important do you see them in your life in terms of will they be there for you if something were to go south?
Right. Oh yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I mean, it's true. Now, what are your thoughts on, we're talking about the network and building your network, but referrals and dating, right? And just like in referrals for business, I don't think that we're giving enough referrals or asking for a referral in business, and I don't think we're asking enough in the dating world.
I agree. And I when it comes to dating, I don't give referrals that much, and the reason why is because they're very similar, yet there's complexity in one.
Right.
So there's complexity in the dating because it's so nuanced. There's so many differences. So I can get along with a guy, and he's like, oh, he's awesome, he's phenomenal, great dude.
Yeah.
But he can be a psychopath later. Or I mean, when it comes to dating others.
Oh, right.
And I don't mean like physically. I don't mean like a serial killer. I just mean like in terms of like he's
walking
not
in chloroform cloths.
Exactly.
Right.
Hey, does this smell like chloroform?
Oh, dang.
Too soon.
You go night-night.
Well, that's my brother would do that. My younger brother. So yeah, that's our humor. But anyways, so like that, or maybe he's not emotionally. He doesn't have the ability to express himself emotionally.
Okay.
Even though I know him well as a human being and he can
Right.
be vulnerable with me, maybe he cannot be vulnerable with the woman he's dating.
Yeah.
So because it's so tricky, the last thing you want to, because you take ownership of that.
Right.
So if you needed a landscaper and you say, hey, Bong, I need a landscaper. I say,
Right.
hey, call this guy.
So, yes.
And you call this guy and he digs a big hole and ruins your septic tank. I feel responsible for that.
Oh.
Right?
How?
I had this happen with a tailor
like
I
it.
once used. I still use him, but personally, he's great for me. But I referred him to somebody else I know. It didn't work out for him.
Okay.
And this is like years ago. And I still feel bad,
Yeah.
even though I had nothing to do with it because I made that introduction, right? And so when it comes to dating, it's a challenge. You should still do it if you know the person you're referring really well.
Really well, right.
Not just
Like, oh, hey, Joe, on my 4th degree down.
exactly.
Like,
Not like he's a guy and you're a woman, you guys should meet. Or
Right.
oh, he's black and you're black, you should date. That's ridiculous. That happens all the time. Or he's Asian, she's Asian, you should date. Not that crap. It has to be something where you actually know the guy or
Right.
know the woman
Right.
well enough to.
That's
do
right.
that.
I mean, because like especially that's why Tinder is really interesting because Tinder will link to your Facebook. I mean, if you connect to it, right?
Yeah.
Then you can see who they're friends with, like first connections,
Yep.
second connections. And
I've gotten that over time. Like people will call
me. Oh,
will ask
yeah,
me,
absolutely.
Hey, who is this person that
Yep.
you connected on Facebook? Like, what? Why?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I found him on Tinder. I'm
Yeah.
like, word? I was like, I don't know him. You know
Right,
what I mean? And
but that's good though because then you can have a validation of like, okay, are they crazy? But other than you're like just gets a little bit scary when you're
Yep.
out there and you're like, oh man, like what I don't know, there's no connections,
Yep.
and they're like,
that's kind of odd. If
there's no one.
yeah, there's no one here, especially in this area that has
Right.
just not connected to somebody else.
Yeah, like I said, like we're constant. I mean, it's a small world.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. So yeah, but I like that. So can you give us some tips that we can actually use to get your mindset right? Like, I mean, I know we talked about how I said that I was listening to your podcast. So tell me how you got to have that positive mindset and that how we can all be the best version of ourselves.
Well, I want to say this much. So one of the things that keeps us, and then I'll go into the tips. One of the things that keeps us, I think, inherently sad or depressed or worried or whatever is we see potential, but we don't know how to get to it.
Okay.
And so someone who is the happiest in the world, he or she has already, to them, has realized their potential. So they're like, I'm happy. This is where I think I
good,
can
yeah.
be. I'm good. But a lot of people, I think, when they feel empty, they know there's potential out there, but they don't know what it looks like. They don't know how to get there, and so they tend to be worried about life in general, and there's a semblance of sadness or depression. Now, I don't mean clinically. I just mean in terms of like depression, in terms of your spirit and what you're doing. But when it comes to me, one thing you have to remember is knowing yourself it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Every single day, it takes a lot of work for me to wake up every single day and to think about the semblance of being positive. So this is not something that I'm inherently happy, but again, that's also work.
Right.
And it's important enough to me that I consider it work. I do it every single day. So one thing I would say is I start my day with meditation. I wake up whenever I wake up. I start my day with before you wake up. What I would suggest is and this is the first time I ever shared this tip, but this is something I would suggest.
Look.
So write this MFer down.
Write this down. Write it down.
One thing I would suggest is you change your alarm clock
Oh.
to soft tones or something that kind of slowly like staccato but progresses up or crescendos up.
Yeah.
And the reason why that is because when you're sleeping, especially if you're in REM or just regular sleep, or not in REM but you're asleep, the way you wake up dictates how the day starts for you. I don't believe in waking up on the
How
wrong
you
side of the
start
bed.
your day matters.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It really does. And so, and also your energy is transferable.
Right.
Because again, someone can tell you a sad story, you start crying.
Yeah.
Someone tells you a happy story, you're happy. Someone
Right.
tells you an angry story, you get angry.
Right.
You see it on Facebook all the time.
That's true.
You know, and so what ends up happening is when you the way you wake up matters. So the way my ringtones for my phone, not my ringtones, but for my phone, my alarms are all bells that crescendo up slowly
Oh, that's
because you
good.
don't want to wake. It's like waking up every morning is very similar to waking up as a baby coming out of the womb.
Oh wow.
All of a sudden, you're in a room, you're in fluid, ambiotic fluid, and you come out. All of a sudden, it's like,
Yeah.
like that's how you are when you wake up, and you're in shock mode. You have adrenaline pumping through.
Yeah.
You're waking up that way. You wake up with fear. You wake up with
Yes.
adrenaline and anxiety automatically. I don't want that shit in my life when I first
No.
wake up, especially if I had good sleep.
Right.
So that's the way
That
I
was
wake
me
up.
this morning. My wind chimes and flutes
Exactly.
didn't come on because it starts out slow and it goes up,
Yep.
and then somehow I don't know. It was like wow, wow. I'm like yes,
Yeah.
good morning.
You sit up and you're like, oh my god, what's going on?
I'm like, what day is it? Where do I need to be? What's
Exactly.
going on?
But why is
Yeah.
that? Why? So when you think about that versus if you woke up the way you normally would wake
Yeah.
up, you wouldn't be asking questions like, what's going on?
What day is it?
Yeah, is the water on?
What's going on?
Uh,
Did the alarm? That's what I thought. My alarm went off.
Yeah, exactly,
in my house.
exactly.
Like, I'm like, oh my gosh,
someone's breaking in.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
That's how you wake up, and then you're
Right.
like, then your adrenaline spike too. Anyway, so that's the first thing I do. Second thing I do is I spend like a couple minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, just meditating.
Yeah.
And meditation is not. You're gonna have thoughts when you first do it. Thoughts going through your head about
Right.
everything. You'll be worried and feared, but what will end up happening is even that turns into a mantra of itself because I guarantee you, after doing it the first couple of times, you will all those things you're thinking about. 10 minutes will pass,
Yeah.
and you'll be and then. Theoretically, what you want to do is get to a point of peace where you're just like
Yeah.
not thinking about anything. That's really hard to get to, but starting this momentum matters.
Yes.
The third thing I do is I read something, either something from the Daily Stoic, which is a book by Ryan Holiday. He wrote a bunch of
Oh,
other
yeah,
books. Yeah, it's called the Daily Stoic, but it's based on like Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, all people from who were part of the Stoic movement back in Greek days and Roman days. So I read a passage from that. Maybe meditations. I'll just read a passage, like a passage about life, you know, on the
that's
shortness
really
of
good.
life and reminding yourself. And then I'll do one of these video things.
Yeah.
Because it's really, I do it for me, but also I get affirmation from others saying
Yeah,
this helped me,
yeah.
this matters to me,
Yes.
this matters.
Hello, dating advisory report.
Yeah, I
That's
mean, you
one
don't
of the
understand.
major factors.
I didn't realize this. I mean, shoot, I got a book today from somebody who follows my stuff, and she wrote me in acknowledgments.
Yeah.
And another dude did that last year too. He wrote a book. He's like, I would not have written this book had it not been for you, Abong. Like in the
Yeah.
book, and I was like, where? Like you don't understand.
You don't know
reading
your
that.
impact.
You don't. Yeah, you don't
'cause
understand.
You're like,
reading
I'm just
that.
talking.
Yeah, I
You
was
know, and then someone's
for
like,
me,
Yeah.
right? This is for me, and it's a byproduct to somebody else. And he was, and then even this woman, the same thing. She wrote, "Is like, thanks to all these people, and Abong, I would not have been able to do this book had it not been for you."
Yeah,
I was like, holy
absolutely.
shit! Can you imagine
Oh,
the impact
yeah.
of that?
Oh yeah.
So I try to keep those things consistent every single day, and I tend to start out
Yeah.
better that way. That's what you have to do, and you have to whatever that works for you. You have to find out
Right.
what that is, and pick that, and be consistent with it. So the momentum starts after a month, 2 months.
Right.
That'll be your thing every single day.
Yeah, and you know, and then also we didn't even talk. Did I even go into your background? Did I even talk about
No,
it?
but it's-
Okay,
I
let's
mean-
go. Let's read it because I want this is important because I want to talk about. He is a best-selling author of the book "Start Me Up: The No Business Plan Business Plan." You have got to go on Amazon and pick it up today. We're going to talk about that, but. He is a leadership entrepreneur and small business expert who you're on MSNBC, Fox News, Fox Business Channel, NBC, and CNN. He's also an accomplished TEDx speaker, motivational speaker, clearly, and a Huffington Post small business blogger and Office Depot blogger. So I love that you have these different platforms that you can go speak about. Talk about like the business plan and your economics. So let's go into what you're working on.
So economics is the name of the company. My last name is Eka, Ekanomics, is economics. So it's a play on the financial term of economics. And the focus of economics as a whole is mission, mindset, and money. And before I continue what economics is, let me tell you quickly about the Economics Academy. So the Economics Academy is a program I recently launched. It's a 6-week training program. We work with entrepreneurs in service-based industries.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we help them. We walk them through because services are a little bit different than if you were to sell, say, the squeeze toy.
Yeah,
right?
I mean it's pretty sweet.
Because
Just
I mean it's
saying.
phenomenal, right? Heart, everything.
Because dating is stressful.
Sorry, I'm looking at my girlfriend, but But so what happens with widgets is different than if it's service based. So a lot of people struggle with setting their prices and raising them.
Yeah.
And then they also struggle with sales and actually finding high valuable targets and clients so they can close them. So we walk them. We walk them through a 6-week training module sequence in addition to weekly Q&A based on the lessons that they learned. And so the next one will open probably in July, early to mid July, and it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
We do live training, and then I give you Q&A, I give you some homework,
That's really
do
good.
some quizzes.
And then what's the website? Is it economics?
Economicsacademy.com.
Yeah. Okay.
So economicsacademy.com, you can learn more information about what that is and.
Google it. Go
right
on there.
And you also have to. So part of that qualification process is you have to speak to me. And go through to see if you're a fit. So it's not just anybody can come in.
Okay.
Mainly because you increase the likelihood of you actually finishing whatever the hell we do. And that's important. A lot of people buy programs and products. They don't use any of them. And a lot of people's business models are predicated on nobody using their shit. Right. So you'll do all this stuff, you buy all these things, and then you'll say it doesn't work for you, but you never committed to it. Yeah, you got to commit to everything you do, and you got to commit. If you want a good relationship, you got to commit. If you want a good business, you got to commit. You got to commit to whatever you want. There's no way otherwise you can do that. So economics, going back to it, is mission, mindset, money. And what happens is you have to have congruency in your life between your mission, your mindset, and your money. Now, your mission is very simple. It's why are you here? What are you doing? What purpose do you have?
Right.
Your mindset, we talked about it at length today, is understanding how you support your mission. If you don't understand, if your mindset is mush, you have an oatmeal brain, you're not going to be able to actually put in the effort and go through the setbacks and go through all the negative stuff. This world is negative. You're going to go through a lot of negativity. How do you get through that? And then money is the last one, where whether it's a job or your business, if your money's not right, your mission won't be right, your mindset won't be right. And one of those things, there has to be congruency between all three.
Yeah.
If one of them is out of alignment, there's absolutely no way you'll live the life of prosperity and potential that you have.
Yeah. Well, that's actually when you talk about, like, you got to commit to business. You got to commit to a relationship, on working on it, not running away. You're scared, right? And because you didn't, I've just been on his page, like, pulling up. I got great quotes. I got good, articles. They said, this one I'm going to read, it's called "Want to be a lot more successful? Marry the right person." Well, before you can marry the right person, you have to find them and date that person, right? And a couple just quotes, and then we'll talk about it. It says, while all those are important factors in the success of your business or career, tying it back to business and dating, your earning power, here's one factor you probably haven't considered: your spouse. Researchers at Washington University found people relatively reliable partners tend to perform better at work, earning more promotions, making more money, and feeling more satisfied with their jobs. Because it goes back to what you were saying. Hey, happy home life, happy work, right?
Yep.
But you have to find the right match. Yep. And then, as Jim Rohn says, we are the average of 5 people we spend the most time with, and that's particularly true with our significant others are concerned. Bad habits rub off.
Yep.
Poor tendencies rub off. We all know that. But good habits and good tendencies rub off too.
Yeah. Look at the people. Look at the people we spend time with. How I met you because of the group of people you mentioned, your girls, like guys like Tien and Marissa and everybody else. Mad, look at what they've been able to accomplish in life. You would not have been, and we ended up meeting as a result of that. And you said I played a role in you doing this. Imagine if you were with somebody who didn't believe in your dream or your vision, spend a lot of your time with them. This would not be a reality. All the things you're doing would not be a reality, right? If you're with somebody who doesn't understand this, what the purpose of this, that would not be a reality either. And part of it is once you're committed and you've sold yourself, then you can sell other people. Yeah. I'm committed. So when it comes to a relationship, I talk about it. I talk about when I shared that. I'm committed. I'm committed to her. Yeah. So but the first thing I got to say is you got to. And commitment is loosely thrown around.
Not competition.
Exactly.
I want to talk about that because I think that's important.
Commitment is thrown around. They're like, I commit to this. That's a bunch of bunk. What I mean by commitment is committing to. There's 2 things. You got to commit to the institution. Right. Of marriage first, or relationship, whatever it is that is to you, whatever that means to you. Right. You got to commit to that first. Then the person will come. Second to be part of that, right? Underneath that, so it's like a Venn diagram. Within that is the actual person. Right. You got to commit to whatever it is that you want first, right? Because then you'll know I'm not gonna leave if we have a fight. I'm not gonna do dirt or do something I shouldn't do if something bad happens. I'm committed to the institution. I'm committed to my kids. I'm committed to this relationship working. And because of that level of commitment, like I said earlier, your emotions are infectious. And so I'll talk and I'll start speaking, whatever, and people will start feeling the same level of passion.
Yeah.
The same thing happens with the emotion you have for the commitment. The person that's in that relationship will come along because I see the promise. I see what it looks like. I see what our reality, our results, the end is supposed to look like, the end of the tunnel. As a result of that, I'm going to come along and play. I want to be on that train.
Yeah, I want to
Right?
be on the happy train. The
Exactly.
positivity.
Exactly.
Because you can't have like positive and negative. Like you can't have someone positive and then the other got negative Nancy and be in a relationship.
You know how hard that is?
Oh my God. Oh.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's literally, virtually, unequivocally impossible for anybody to get to where they want to go potential wise.
Right.
If they are with somebody who doesn't support the overall mission.
Right.
It's
But
important.
here's,
It's
I mean,
impossible.
I'm not even telling you, I cannot believe how many times I hear the same stories. Well, they're competing with me. You know, like I had to get a new car, or I had to get a new car. My lease was up, and then I got a car, and they had to go get a more expensive one. Or I got a new phone, and then they got, it's just small things, but then, and you know, and they're not supportive of
Yeah,
that person.
it's ridiculous.
Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, we're here to help you. Like, I
Yeah.
want to be with, so I want to find someone, I'm like, yeah, let's go rock this.
Exactly,
like, you know, let's like build a
exactly.
freaking
She wants
empire.
me to win.
Yeah.
I want her to win.
Yes.
Right? Like I want us both to win. We win together.
Thank
like
you.
it's I am who I am now because she's played a huge role in my life
Right.
for that. Right? And I was on this path. But again, when you're on a certain path, you start to attract
the right
people
person, yes.
who are part of that path as well.
Right.
Like, and everything else becomes abhorrent to you. So if you're thinking of development, personal development, professional development, your
Yeah.
business, everything else, and you're meeting somebody who's like, I'm not interested in da 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 da, they're not going to stay very long because you're on your purpose,
Yeah.
right? Your purpose has already been established, and they're part of the people you will start to attract are those who are part of the purpose, who understand that. And again, it's not going to be easy. It's actually it's a lot more difficult than having no purpose and being purposeless, like a lot of people in this world are. But the results are far exceed the amount of effort you put in.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't understand. And it's, you know, something like, well, I wasn't being competitive, or, well, yeah. Like, why would you not? Why would you want your significant other or someone you're interested in? You know, you hear the comments are like they'll put someone down just why? 'Cause to make yourself feel better.
Yeah.
You know, and then you got to look at it. You know, I don't think a lot of people are really kind of looking at it, like doing the self reflection. Like, why am I talking? Like, yeah, there's funny to be a joke here and there.
Yeah.
You know, whatever. I'm gonna keep it light. But if it's like seriously constant, like watching how often it happens.
Yep.
You know, because imagine if you put the more good out there
Yep.
and the more positive vibes in your relationship, like, oh, you look really nice today, but
Yeah.
from a genuine place.
Yes.
You know, and then watch how the world shifts. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so you got homework. Do 5 things really nice for your significant other and don't tell them.
Yeah.
You know, like leave, you know, I always say like, you know, leave little notes or, you know, come home with fly, you know, who knows? I mean, there's so many things and you can Google it for ideas. I am sure it's on there.
Yeah, and again, part of that with the person you're with keeps you accountable. She keeps me accountable.
Right.
I keep her accountable. Our accountability is important because it can get complacent, right? Like everything can get complacent when you're going through stuff, and if your
you're
focus
busy
kind
or-
of busy and your
You're
focus
like,
kind
oh,
of wanes
sorry,
a bit.
I was just, you know, doing this. But
Exactly,
like, you have
exactly.
I love this. Oh, I've been so busy today. I haven't been able to text.
Yeah.
Yes, you don't have 1 minute. You know, they can pre-program them now to send at times. I'm not kidding. I learned that on here. I'm like, I can't be any easier for you. There's zero excuse. And you want to stand out? Pick up the phone, people. Pick it up. And and dates. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, let's talk about that. Where do you want to go? Why don't you pick where we should go? I mean, you're asking me on a date. Why am I the one picking? No, stop it. Sick of it. Hashtag that on Twitter right
All right,
now.
I own that
Yeah.
too. I'll own that, and I'll say one thing. I'll own that, but I'll also add this. Sometimes,
Where's clapping?
yeah, I know. Yeah, So you can't tell. If I was white, I'd be embarrassed. But I am embarrassed, but you'd see it. But I would say the thing is understanding what she wants sometimes. So that's sort of the
But you
challenge.
know, like I like seafood. Like you would ask, like, what kind of food do you like? Oh, I like seafood. I like this. Oh, what do you think about this? You know, no. Am I off there? Do you need to come on here? I feel like you need to come on here.
This episode is over.
No.
Run away.
Yeah. You want to come up and answer this one? Do you want to talk what happened with it? No, you can stay up here. You can bring it up.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you want me to leave?
Do you want to?
Okay.
Yeah. So this is Laura. This is Abong's girlfriend.
Can she use my mic?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let you come in the mic. Okay.
She's very, very tall.
Okay.
Yes.
You gotta speak in this.
Okay.
Gotta lean
What's the
into this.
question?
All right. So tell us about him making dates.
Cheers.
There you go. What would you say?
He's not the best at planning.
No, it runs in my family. My brother and I are the same.
Yeah.
Only because he doesn't want to disappoint.
Oh.
And he doesn't want to take me to something that I wouldn't want to do, or if I'm picky about something I don't want to eat. He doesn't want to plan something and then have it not work out because of that.
That's basically that's partial. That's the majority of it. So it's like I know I can say I know she likes Mexican. Let's go get Mexican food. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm Mexican today, so I don't want to take her to Mexican food, and she has to eat chicken or something, not a taco.
Not a taco. Well, you do a little digging. Do a little
Yeah.
recon, as I call
Right.
it. Like, hey, what'd you have for lunch today? And then say, like I had actually my cousin, brilliant idea. He actually came home. This is true, and this is guys. This is some chivalry is not dead. Came home. It was a girlfriend at the time. Went out and bought her a dress, knew her size. It was a hot dress, and she was laid out outfit. Had a note and a card saying, "Be ready by 7." I was like, oh, yeah, true
And
story.
all that stuff matters.
It does. I don't know. It does
Right.
matter.
No, I'm just saying, but like, doing something, different or whatever. What do you think? Give us your thoughts.
Well, then he came home Friday and told me he got us tickets to go see John Legend in a month
Nice.
from now. So
Say, good job.
he can do it.
Ring that bell. ring, ring.
But for me, all of that stuff is very ancillary to
Yeah.
a relationship.
Right.
Right. So, for example, I got a bad phone call today, and he's the person I called and helped me solve
Yeah.
what was going on and
Yeah.
talk me through what was going
Yeah.
on. And
See,
that's what
good.
matters.
That's what matters, right? But but little things,
Little things in general.
In general.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love that.
I try. Look, I try. But again, part of me, if I'm committed,
Right.
that's what I have to do. I have to figure it out. I have to
Yeah.
figure out what it is, and I have to get some guidance. So
Yeah.
for those who are watching, sometimes you got to ask for
You have
guidance.
to
Yeah.
tell the person what you want.
Yeah, tell them what you want,
Yeah.
ask them what you want,
Right.
ask for guidance, understand
Yes.
what's going on, and so that you're not in a situation where it's I didn't know. Well, ask and then continue to ask if you have to, and explain. I asked you last
And it
time, I didn't know,
changes.
and
it changes
changes.
what
yeah,
you want.
Exactly.
As,
Yeah.
as a woman, it just changes in general.
I love it.
just
Yeah.
like-
And
Things change
seriously, our brain works simultaneously. We're nuts.
Yeah.
That
No,
makes-
and I get it,
Yeah.
but it's not easy.
Yeah.
But I understand it. Even when I know change is happening or
Yeah.
craziness is happening, it still doesn't make it any easier.
Yeah.
But again, that's the world we in.
Yeah.
So it's whatever.
That's crazy. We got 1 minute left, so I
Yay.
cannot believe that went by so fast. So thanks for coming on. So Ava, how does everybody get in touch with you?
You can go to Abong Eka on Twitter. I respond to my tweets, stuff like that, and also Economics Academy. If you want to get your business to another level, we're going to do it for you.
That's awesome.
Spelled EKA.
EKANOMICS.com.
Love it. Thanks. All right. Well, thank you guys again. And then tune in. Don't forget to tune in next week. We have another amazing show lined up for you. Got Marissa Potts.
I
know.
Marissa Potts.
Yeah, I love her. We're going to talk
Ask-
about Prince.
Yep.
100%. She's yes. So anyway, all right. Thanks, guys. Have a great week. Talk to you later.